Hey everybody, welcome to High Five Friday. Yay!
It's the greatest, ain't it?
I have some stuff that I've enjoyed over the past week or two, and I want to share it with all of you. So let's get into this. What is the most interesting things this week? Number one for me is going to be this Mocha Fudge vegan ice cream that is at Aldi. It's the best. It tastes so good. It's so creamy. I think it's made from like almond milk or something. What I do is I make myself a bowl of it, and then I crush up a bag of Clancy's potato chips, the original kind. You might know them as Lay's, and I pour those on top. Potato chips on ice cream, my favorite thing to do ever since I was a kid. My redneck ass dad taught me all that. The next thing I loved this week was the episode of the Trillbillies. It's not even this week. Terrence, you know him from the band Scabbage. He's also the host of the Trillbillies. He did this extra episode a week or two ago with Sean KB from the Antifada podcast. That's another podcast I like. Also been on. They let me wear their Koch brothers shirt. They had a Wyatt Koch brother money bag shirt, and I got to wear that in the studio. They talked about this shit that I don't even know what it was even. Like, it's about this book called by Giovanni Arrighi, The Long 20th Century. Maybe Arrighi? Giovanni Arrighi, The Long 20th Century. And it basically plots out how long like 100 years actually is and the type of changes that happen. And I think it does help to make it really helped me understand like my place in history. And during these uncertain times, things are going to change because that's what has always happened. And over long periods of time, it isn't going to always be peaceful, and it isn't always going to be the way things were. I'm getting closer to 40 now, and I'm already seeing how the world that I knew in my teens isn't really here anymore. They've rebuilt a lot of the buildings. All the culture has changed, obviously. Even the nostalgia doesn't even touch the things that I remember about the 90s. I also think that there is a tendency, and I'm included in this, I started this show to complain and gripe and moan about the way the world is. I wake up every single day completely fucking frustrated, that the police are still killing black men, that trans people are still fighting for the most basic rights. I really can't make sense of it. I really am frustrated, and it does lead to depression a lot of times that I need to work on. It's part of my healing process, but understanding that it isn't my job to fix all of the problems in the world, and that some of this stuff is going to take years, and that also the world can change overnight the way it did with coronavirus and the way that people are fighting back in Minneapolis right now. So there's going to be a lot of change in your life, in all of our lives, and this book was a really good way to remind you of that. If you want to listen to them, Terrence and Sean, talk about it, they did an amazing job, and they really made sense to me. They do use some terms like Hegelian and shit like that, which kind of went over my head, but I still got the gist of the book, and I thought it was a worthwhile listen, even if you're not into like being very studious or reading books and shit. I thought it was a really good episode, so good job, you two. The other thing I've been loving like crazy is the decline at Red Rocks with a full orchestra. I am a poser when it comes to punk rock. I like pop punk when I was a teenager in the 90s and Fat Record stuff, and NoFX was one of my favorites. I wrote about them in our punk zine even. They were the first people that taught me about murdering the government, about queerness, about fighting back against the religious right, and all kinds of other shit. Like they were very much upfront and bratty and snotty, and it's very shallow. It's not like the most genius critiques you've ever heard, but something about it reminds me that like when I heard that shit back in 1999, I think when it came out, it still hits the same way. And this orchestra version is just the tightest I've seen NoFX in a very long time. And it's a really good song, still relevant today. They're re-releasing it, I guess, with like Donald Trump on the cover, which I don't know. I feel like they should be against both Democrats and Republicans, but what can you say? Don't look up to your heroes too much. But you gotta see it. Even if you don't like punk, even if you don't like pop punk, even if you think NoFX sucks, just watch it and you'll see the excitement on everybody's faces, and the way they pull it off and the ups and downs are just, it's one of the best things they've ever done. It's absolutely incredible. Next thing we got is I need a drink. My throat is so fucking dry. Oh, the next one is Plate Joy. This is not an ad. I don't work for Aldi. I don't work for Plate Joy. But I'd mentioned it on the show that I like the idea of those meal subscription services, but it's also very wasteful to mail somebody like 2 eggs in a 2-egg carton that's wrapped in styrofoam or wrapped in cellophane. I don't think that the meal delivery services are the best way to distribute food. But at the same time, I also would love to have somebody just
tell me what to eat.
Especially if it's going to be healthy, good food that I like.
I'm totally down for it.
Plate Joy accomplishes exactly what I want. You sign up, you get a 10-day trial. It's $60 after 10 days. For 6 months of this. You go into Plate Joy, you fill out a huge questionnaire, whether or not you're going to shop at like a fancy grocery store, like a Whole Foods or a Lucky's or a farmer's market, or like an international grocery store that has more exotic ingredients, or if you're going to stick to just regular old Kroger's or whatever, Giant Eagle, that stuff, just general public where they serve all the trash stuff that isn't for, the elites. Then also they ask how big your family is, how much batch cooking you want to do. You fill out this questionnaire, you tell them what ingredients you don't like, and they will just avoid all of that. And after all of that, it populates a menu for you. And that menu you can set up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks, and you can spread it throughout the week. Even further than that, it will then populate a grocery list that you can print out. It'll ask you what ingredients you already have. It'll find out what you need to get. It'll print out a grocery list for you, or you can export it right into Instacart and just get it delivered right to your door. It's a really fantastic service so far. I've been eating a lot of like whole grain bread with almond butter, tons of avocados and sun-dried tomatoes, and we're having Korean barbecue tonight, like tempeh stuff. There's an amazing selection of stuff, and I was really excited after I got my Plate Joy order. We ordered for like 5 days, and just looking at the counter, and it was all produce and green stuff and colorful food, which is what I need a lot more of in my life. So check out Plate Joy. My last one here, this is one to take home. I don't know why I like this so much, or even if I do, but it's a quote by Nicky Lauda. He's a person that I am newly interested in. He's an Formula One race car driver. The movie Rush with whatever that guy from Australia's name is, that came out a few years ago, is about Nicky Lauda and what happened in his career. He lived a lot longer than his rival did, James Hunt. I've listened to podcasts with him. I've watched interviews, and he just has a very interesting take on life. And I would say we're kind of opposites. In the movie Rush, James Hunt, and everybody says this is true, is like a wild party animal that can't keep it serious, smokes a joint and drinks a beer before he races. Nicky Lauda is like a planner, thinker, always taking the right risks, never anymore. He will only 20% risk, nothing more, as he says in the movie. So this quote from him I really enjoyed, actually. From success, you learn absolutely nothing. From failure and setbacks, conclusions can be drawn. That goes for your private life as well as your career, Nicky Lauda. That one's true for me because I have a lot of stumbles. I get overwhelmed by my work, and I procrastinate a lot, and it can take me down. It can give me a case of the drearies. It'll make me, give up or get behind and get frustrated and all those things. Before in my life, it would take me like a month. I would make a mistake on a project, and then it would take me a month to get back to it. And now I make a mistake, or I get overwhelmed, or I just crash and burn, and I'm out for 2 days. I'm out for a day. Sometimes I can pull it around in the same day. A lot of bettering your life, a lot of improving your living standards and your career and your relationships and all of that stuff. It all involves mistakes. Everything in life is mostly mistakes. I think when we stop trying to make mistakes, or we limit ourselves from attempting or I mean, the moment you stop yourself because you're worried about like the mistakes or the self-doubt or any of that stuff, it's like you're missing out on an opportunity to just find out what would happen if you did something, making an attempt at something new, really eating it hard at games. At something that you're good at. I said games because that's what I was thinking about. Me and my wife play a lot of board games. We've been playing Potion Explosion like crazy, and and cribbage. We've been playing tons of cribbage. We'll probably play like 20 games of cribbage a week, and I got double skunked, and I learned a lot, and I tried not to let it get to me. I will return victorious. I'm gonna keep on moving towards greatness regardless of the setbacks, but it's still tough out there. And I thank you all for paying attention to me and my opinion and the things that I like. Listen to Street Fight. We're live every Wednesday and Sunday night right on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter if you want to chat along, or just find us on the podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Play, and SoundCloud. Street Fight Radio is the place to be. I will see y'all in 2 weeks. We're going to try to do these things every 2 weeks because, once again, after trying to do video content every single week and failing over and over again to the point that I beat the shit out of myself, I've realized if I just commit to every other week, that's actually something I can accomplish. So maybe that success will teach me something. What do you know, Nicky Lauda? Have a good one.